I am writing this to gain perspective, not to seek sympathy. This is about a long relationship that started early and is now facing problems I don't know how to solve. I'm trying to be rational, but at the same time, I am deeply emotionally involved. This is my first serious relationship, and I have nothing to compare it to. I don't know if I'm being unreasonable or just realistic. I need other people's thoughts. My girlfriend, 22F, and I, 20M, have been together for 4 years. We met while we were still in school, and the relationship has lasted through the entire period when you are really supposed to figure out who you are as a person. She's my first real love, not just someone I've been with, but the first person I built my entire vision of the future around. We have been through a lot together. Teenage problems, insecurity, change, plans for the future. For a long time, there was never any doubt in my mind that she was the person I would be with. It wasn't even something I had to think about. It just was that way. About a year into the relationship, she moved to Australia for further studies. It wasn't a sudden decision, but the consequences of it had become bigger than I think either of us understood at the time. She was very driven when it came to studying abroad, and I admired her for that. At the same time, I was very clear about my own boundaries. I have always said that I cannot leave Poland permanently. I am an only child. My parents will depend on me in the long run, and I have responsibilities here that cannot be explained away. It's not about me not wanting to experience the world, but about the fact that certain things in my life are fixed. This was nothing new or hidden, but something I have been open about from the beginning. When she left, it was she who really wanted us to try to keep the relationship alive long distance. I was hesitant, not because I didn't love her, but because I knew how difficult long distance can be, especially when you are so young. She said she understood my concerns and promised that she would come back immediately after finishing her degree. I trusted that. The plan was simple and clear. Her parents didn't want her to work alongside her studies, so all the focus would be on her education. She would complete her 3-year degree in Australia. She would return to Poland around February 2027, about a year and a half from now. When she came back, she would start preparing for government jobs here, something she had talked about for a long time. That plan was what made me agree to long distance. There was an end date. There was a direction. There was a future you could imagine. The distance was tough, but bearable because it was temporary. I think it's important to be honest about how the long-distance relationship actually worked. We talked almost every day. Video calls, messages, updates about daily life. On the surface, it looked stable. But long distance is not just about missing someone physically. It's about your lives developing in different directions. She is building a life there. New routines, new people, new problems. I am building a life here. Our daily lives no longer overlap. I have often felt like something she fits in between studies and other things. Not because she means it that way, but because that's how it becomes in practice when you don't share the same time zone, the same daily life, the same life. I have been waiting for time to pass, waiting for the plan to be fulfilled. A few months ago, things started to change. She told me she had been struggling to keep up with her studies, that she had missed lectures, hadn't really had the motivation, and had postponed things. Eventually, the message came that her place in the program had been withdrawn. In practice, this meant that she could no longer continue in her current program. She has now applied to a new college, but has to start over from the beginning. This changed everything. The new program means that she will now finish in December 2028. That is almost 3 years from now. The previous plan, which already felt long, suddenly became even more distant. And with that came all the questions I have been trying to avoid. When she finishes, she will be almost 26 years old. The original plan was that she would come back and start preparing for government jobs here in Poland. They are extremely competitive and often require several years of intensive preparation. Coming back at 26, without work experience here, without an income, and starting to study for something that may or may not lead anywhere feels very risky. From a rational perspective, it feels much more likely that she would then choose to take the 2-year work permit available in Australia. It makes sense. It's responsible for her future. It's what most people in her situation would do. But if she does that, it means another 2 years there. Combined with the 3 years already remaining, we are talking about 5 more years apart. 5 years. We have already been apart for a long time. Imagining another 5 years with no guarantee of what happens after feels overwhelming. She hasn't explicitly said that she plans to stay longer. But at the same time, she hasn't said that she will definitely come back as soon as her degree is finished either. Everything is open, uncertain, fluid, and I live with that uncertainty every day. I love her. That's what makes this so difficult. If emotions were the only thing that mattered, I would wait forever. But life doesn't work like that. I cannot move to Australia. That has never been an option. She knows that. I have been clear about it from the beginning. Her stay there has now, in practice, been extended indefinitely. There is no new end date that feels firm. Only possible scenarios. I'm starting to feel like we're no longer moving toward the same future, but instead just hoping that our paths will somehow meet again later. And that scares me. Update. We eventually had a long and difficult conversation about all of this. I had postponed it for a long time, partly because I didn't want to hurt her, and partly because I wasn't sure myself what I wanted. But it was no longer possible to pretend that everything was fine. I said directly that I no longer see any realistic future for us as the situation looks now. That the original plan that kept the relationship alive no longer exists. That every new change pushes the future further away. She became very upset and said that I focused too much on time and numbers. That relationships are not projects that can be planned in detail. She said that she is doing all of this for her future and that I should be proud of her instead of seeing her as a problem. I said that I am proud of her, but that her decisions also directly affect my life. That I have been living in a waiting mode for years and that it wears on me more than I may have shown. She said that she has always seen me in her future, that she never planned to leave me, that she thinks I am giving up too easily, that 4 years should not be erased by hypothetical future problems. I replied that it is no longer hypothetical for me, that I already feel lonely in the relationship, that I often feel like a promise rather than a part of her current life. I said that I am not demanding that she come home immediately, but that I cannot promise to wait another 5 years. In the end, I said what I had been carrying in my head for a long time, that I think we should break up. She immediately said that she doesn't want that. She said that she loves me, that she can't imagine her life without me. She asked if I really can end everything over something that might work itself out. I said that I don't want to become the person who stays until bitterness takes over, that I would rather leave now, while we still care about each other, than wait until we start blaming each other. The conversation ended without a final decision. Technically, we are still together, but something has changed. It feels like I've already mentally taken a step away, and that is almost the worst part of all. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I just know that I no longer know how to continue like this. Am I an idiot here, or is it reasonable to end a relationship? Update, we broke up. Some time has passed since my last post, and I want to write an update about how it ended. I receive a lot of advice, both here and from people in my life. And even though it helped to hear other perspectives, this was ultimately a decision I had to make myself. After the first major discussion, we had several conversations. None of them were short or easy. We genuinely tried to talk through how we could continue, whether there was any compromise or any path forward that didn't mean one of us giving up too much. Every time, it felt like we were circling the same core issue without getting any closer to a solution. She wanted to continue. That was clear from the beginning. For her, it was about staying together at all costs, about love itself being enough to carry us through a few more years of uncertainty. She said several times that she didn't understand why I couldn't just wait a little longer, that plans can change again, that nothing in life is guaranteed anyway. I heard what she said, but it didn't change how I felt. Deep down, I had already made my decision. The hard part wasn't reaching that decision, but accepting that it would make her very sad. I didn't doubt so much what I wanted to do, but whether I had the right to do it. I started asking myself if I was being selfish, if I was giving up too early, if I would regret it later on. At the same time, I felt that every time we talked about the future, it became clearer that I no longer saw myself in it in the way she did. I talked to one of my closest friends about everything. I didn't try to twist the story or get him to agree with me. I laid everything out, even the parts that made me look worse. He listened and eventually said that no one else can decide what is right for me. That if something no longer feels sustainable, it doesn't matter how much you wish it did. He said that I should do what feels right, even if it's hard. That conversation was probably what made me stop hesitating. When I finally told her that I didn't want to continue the relationship, she took it very hard. She didn't accept the decision at first. She said she didn't understand how I could give up when we still loved each other. She said I was destroying something that still had a chance. After that, she called me several times a day. She sent long messages where she tried to reason, explain, sometimes beg, sometimes get angry. She went back and forth between saying that she understood me and saying that I was making a huge mistake. For a few days, it was very difficult. I felt both guilty and exhausted, but I still tried to hold on to the decision. Eventually, it calmed down. She stopped calling all the time. The messages became shorter and more infrequent. Now it has been quiet for a while. And honestly, I feel relieved. That doesn't mean I have stopped caring about her. I still like her, and I genuinely hope things go well for her. But the feeling of no longer living in uncertainty, of no longer having to wait for a future that might never happen, is stronger than the sadness. I don't feel empty. I feel finished. This was my first relationship, and it has shaped me more than I realized before. Ending it has been painful, but also necessary. For the first time in a long time, I feel like my life is my own again. I don't know exactly what comes next, but I do know that I am no longer living in a constant state of limbo.
If you liked this story, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It helps a lot, and you won't miss out on any future stories. Take care and live your best life.